Hello, everybody. As you know, this is Marcello Arturo Giagnoli. This is it. This is all. This is the thing that you've called for. Or haven't. This is the Marcello Arturo Giagnoli introduction. As I said before, I just want you to know what's on my shelf. There's a ton of things here. Ton of things. Nervous laughter, babbling. That's the first thing I should really talk about. It's love. And it's hard. It's hard to face it sometimes because you're not really doing it for your own kind of place. It's something that's a part of me. And I think that nervous laughter, that babbling, it really speaks up for the kind of person I am. Because it's not always in the best description to somebody else. The weaknesses and strengths that we as humans can utterly be either humane about or make fun of. Be sarcastic and cynical about. Which I'm not a fan of. And pretty much I think that we can have fun without trying to deteriorate or numb the kind of stance that we take with things. I think it's important to have those stances. Nervous laughter and babbling is just the beginning of the kind of person I am. And I think it shouldn't discredit or it shouldn't make something not valued of what could be. Because that could be actually one of the most strongest things you could find in a person, is something where they are like distinctly, hey, this person's very giving, this person's very loving. And, to be truly honest with all of you, you can spit in my face after I say everything. Just let me know, ahead of time, and I'll just take off my glasses. Because I know that, there is that valueless attitude as well, which is totally understandable. You have misanthropic, you have apathetic, you have a ton of different things that are out in the world. And you could use any means to support it. I actually like to get down to the ground level and just showing it as a human. And just looking at it as a human. Which is harder to do because you're not looking at the value of someone's enrichment in a different way. You have to look at it from what you truly think of other people. And that's how I feel you have to do it. It's scary, but you don't use any other means to support your claims. I'm a key. I think I've talked about this before last time. I am a key. I'm the key that pretty much has enabled other people to do their own thing. Or, in a lot of ways, empathetically, I have a lot of empathy for myself. And that has helped me become that key. To help people who have passed on, and the same thing with people who are alive. Doesn't mean it always works, and doesn't mean telepathically there's different ways to work with things. Sometimes things come at you, and you're the sensitive. And being that key, you just sort of are like a telephone, that kind of connection that's just there, that's there to make it connected and find the result. As a key, that's what I do. I'm the key that is grounded in this jungle of life, as I call it, in some kind of jungle. But too bad there's no forest or trees left, so it can't be really a jungle. It's more like a concrete slab. Not everywhere, but a lot of places are. And I think with that being that key, it's just hard to break from it. We can't really succumb to the values of other things, but sadly we have to live through it. And I've seen that growing up since 1986. And I think that's the real butchery of what I've seen in this world, is that people can claim all they want that they're trying to save it, but, when people truly try to save it, are they even justifiably recognized or respected because of it? A lot of times people just say, oh, just worry about yourself. I can't. Like I said, I'm on the ground level with humans. I can't even look at the fact of their religious beliefs or stuff like that. I have to look at them for a human and see that eye contact just destroy the senses of what's happening in this world with humane people. The interlude. I've been the interlude for a long time in this, really. And being an interlude, that's easy. Easy work. You just basically be an asshole. But without actually being an asshole. You're the bad guy. As if, there was some other way to do it. Seriously, you kind of have to. It's saddening to me that, maddening, whatever. Emotionally, it's kind of the chopping block. Because you kind of stand at the dock of the bay, with your arms to the side, and you look out and see that a ship has crossed your path, gotten close to you, and keeps going. And I've noticed that with a lot of people, that they just go on and move to the next. They move to that next person and use them. They attach to them. I hate to say use them, because I don't think it's always like that. But I think indefinitely they have with you. Whether it was for security or protection, they got attached to you. And because you didn't just get attached with those reasons, they run away from it. So that interlude could actually have been something more. But it turned out to just be an interlude because they're not used to using something more than just security and protection and insecurities to base their answers off of. So when they see somebody secure, they get scared as hell, scared as fuck, move to the next one who's more insecure, and they get along. You know, they mesh together. So when they say opposites attract, that's only if opposites really do attract. I mean, the open knife, you know. The open knife meaning that I don't really hurt other people intentionally without the knife being pointed right back at me. Meaning that it's like split open and turned backwards. So it'll come right back at me. Like anytime I'm trying to do something to somebody, it's like, ow, ow, you know, hitting yourself one way or the other. And it's because you can't do that, personally for me, that you can't do that without facing the consequences yourself. So it throws right back at you. So it's like open knife comes right back, you know. And it keeps on hitting you because you have to stop. You know, and I've had that sort of karmic effect where I've had the same thing come back at me again, but with a different answer. Meaning that in a way, I recognized what was the problem in the first place. But it was hard to recognize what exactly could have fixed that. Because right there, the open knife pretty much is, it can be a teaching tool, but it can also be reaching around to say no to it. And that's it. That's the thing to be learned. That's the lesson. It's finally saying, okay, I get it. And I think with being the Death King as well. Now, the Death King, you have to understand this prospect of being the Death King. It's very different. I'm not afraid of love, therefore I'm not afraid of death. That's the Death King. And it means that personally, I'm not afraid of the love that I can have for somebody. I'm not afraid of the love I can have without being egotistical or prideful, the love I can have for myself. The love I can share with myself, with that empathy, with that sensitivity, feelings, emotions, that just is there. Why shouldn't it be? It should be just as much a part of me as when I give it to you, as when I give it to you guys out there. And that really is the Death King. You know, death. I don't think there's a parallel between death and love. I think there's a parallel between being afraid of death and love. There's a big parallel between them because in a lot of ways they're the unknown. Whether we want to look at it justifiably for what the cliched or naive conversation has been about, oh yeah, love is so strange and something like that. I don't really see it like that. I see that it is something we can hold if we want to. Most people do not, as I said before, with their insecurities. It's pretty easy. When you're insecure, it's pretty easy to attach to fear, hope, and belief. That's it. Those are the fear, hope, belief. Those kind of things are very easy to attach to in the sense of, you know, being afraid of death. Well, why should I be afraid of death? I don't know what it is. In fact, that's just the name for something that happens in our insinuating lives. The Death King. When I look at the fact that this is the Death King, and this whole thing is really about the Death King, it's like I said, between the parallel between love and death. You have a parallel between love and death a lot of times that you either connect to or you don't grasp. Sometimes you want something to happen a certain way, and you deny yourself the responsibility of it because of what you're afraid of. So with love, it's very easy to do that. Very easy. You just go, well, you know, I don't need to worry about that because that's not a part of what I want in life. But you truly do, it's just you wouldn't fight for it in that way. And I'm not talking about fighting for something because, like, somebody else says no to it. Like using bullying and revenge, or actually trying to do the opposite, where you're trying to prove to somebody that you love this person. Well, you don't need to. The only person you need to prove your love to that person is the person you're with, is the person you have those feelings for. If they don't see that you're being responsible enough to have those feelings, and to truly have them, idealistically, without any sort of contradictions of faith that somebody else has towards you, oh, don't believe that person's just a nerd. Yes, that person does research, is responsible enough to do his work, and work on everything. Yeah, just don't, you know, I don't like him. Yeah, you don't like him because he's not a dumbass person who doesn't care about anything. He actually cares, you know, so makes him worthless to a lot of times. And that's why I'm the Death King. Like I said, I'm not afraid of love, I'm not afraid of death. And I think when we come down to this whole thing, that's what it really is about. It's like being a mama's boy, which I've been called, and To be fair with you, mama's man, mama's boy, whichever one you want to put it. I'm nonchalant about it, but not stupid about it. And I think that's the one thing that counts, is that it doesn't matter how much people can say, like, oh, somebody will take advantage of you because of that. Because of your caring, your feelings, your emotions, your sensitivities, people can take advantage of that. There's only so much they can take advantage of once you develop your personality and character. To be fair, I've opened up enough to where I have no blinders on. I have my third eye open in that way, in respects to the world around me, because you have to be damn careful about it. But the world around me has just energy that's sometimes fake, sometimes negative, and a lot of times negative, in fact, because the negativity is easy to mount. As I've been told before in my experiences with people, if I take the worst on, then I don't have to worry about somebody good turning bad. I don't have to wait for it. See, that's the thing about it, is that you don't actually know if they're going to turn bad. But it's an assumption, a clue in, so to speak, that makes people easily take the venerated path of, well, I took on the worst person, and I try to change him. Good luck. That's all I can say. Good luck. And that's why I am, like, not stupid about being nonchalant. I'm nonchalant, but that's because with me, life is nonchalant. No matter how much people specifically organize and say, you have to care about money, you have to care about this, you have to care about that. Well, that's a choice, to feel that those things are important. To feel that those things are so much responsibility. It's not ours. I didn't create the money. I didn't create the system I'm in when I was born. And I wasn't represented by it in my lifetime so far. I think there have probably been a few things I've heard said that represented me at all. Even within my family, I haven't seen that a lot of times. But that's because I personally have spoken my views. And if people are represented, well, then we'll get to my list later of music, and I'll talk about that. But just I'm the kind of person who lays sweet and caring on people, just lays it on them, and that's what I do. I'm a very person who just feels that you have to be sweet and caring, and in a lot of ways, just have the mix of emotions that's just there with it. To me, that is what emotions are. Emotions are every single thing with instincts and guts that are truly meant for what you feel. Sometimes people say that's jealousy. That, like, that jealousy brings out the strongness in somebody's character. I don't really agree. I think, in fact, that's one of the main issues that I've seen, is that a lot of times people use the identity of jealousy to kind of make it easier for, like, choosing that person for them. So then, right there, you got no problem. You got the person you want. Or do you? And I think that's what really is what really laying sweet and caring on people is are they going to take it in all the way, whether it's feminine or masculine traits, or are they just going to base it off of what they've already known about men or women? So in fact, that's why a lot of times in my generation, my day, I see a lot of people that are single. Not most likely because they wanted to be. In a lot of ways, it's because somebody else gave up on those kind of people. Because they went to the other kind of people. Ta-da! It's not a magic hat trick. It's actually a pretty sad trick. Because it's most likely done because they want to just have fun. But the difference with having fun and going with somebody rough, that doesn't sound like it's going to be fun. Just to be fair with you, it doesn't sound like it's going to be fun. And I think that's the same reason where we hear Mamina, for example, my grandmother, who calls me, like, olive oil, for example, where you have, if you've used olive oil in hot boiling water, you notice that it always comes to the surface. Well, that's fine. And that's a good thing, actually, because it means that all my character in general comes to the surface. Well, it should. I see no reason why it should be hidden. And in a few instances, I could definitely say that sometimes people don't represent me that well because they don't really want to speak my individual view because, well, for example, my grandma's called me the philosopher of the family, Mamina. She has, and she has said, and because of that, in a lot of ways, she gets tired of what I say. And not like tired in the way of like, oh, I'm tired of what you say. More like, let's stop there. I'm tired. That kind of tired. And it's like, oh, okay. And I think in a lot of ways, that's one thing that I've seen that definitely separates me from, everybody has philosophy. So why would somebody else's philosophy tire somebody else out? I think about it enough to where I see the extent of what other people have with their philosophy. And it's huge. It's good and it's huge. And I think it's a wonderful thing. But I think it's hard for people to visualize what they can do with that. And it's the same thing with running. I go run every day. And I love it. To me, running is like a psychological as well as a physical workout. It works you out in every way possible. And it's a hard one to not want to do. In a lot of ways, it actually sets the parameter of how I feel each day. It makes it clear up. The gangplank of what most people deal with every day is something that they don't want to release. Well, the best way to release something is also a way to not release it. Because, well, it's not only a release of what you say to somebody, being open. It's also a release within yourself. To me, running is the release within myself. Because a lot of people can hit you every single day, you know, with force and the willpower and their sentiments and their angers and their rage, anything they want. And it becomes almost prophetic that I have to run. Because it's like, here it goes, again today. Some days you have off and you just relax. And I think that's what I do once in a while to get that sort of like back end. So you understand both sides. And I think with that, you have a good understanding of what you do in your life. I think exercise does that. But I think it's sometimes harder to generalize what can happen with each person with their exercise. But that's the way I would. Writing. I got a lot to say about this. I write every morning. I've been rewriting a 20-book series that I've been writing since 2003. Working on the second one right now. Or rewriting and re-editing it. I'm also working on poetry every day. I've been doing that since last July 2012. I've been writing a poem almost every day since then. So I've been writing almost this stack of books right here. There's a big stack of those black art books that I have. Pretty good. And I've been writing poetry almost every day with that. And with Pink Cloud Radio, which I'll get to a little more later, I also write notes down. So any ideas I get, anything I overhear that definitely speaks an ear to what I'm saying or just has some kind of affluent quality to something that I've heard in my lifetime, I'll talk about it in the Pink Cloud, put it down in a note. And I'll usually do it in the order that I appears in my booklets, because I usually do it in the same poetry books. And I also do journaling. In my journals, since I have had them since 5th grade, even though until about 2010, I would say, that I consistently started writing, at first sort of semi-weekly, and then daily, and then I went back to just one day a week. So now I just do it every week. I try to spend one day doing it. And it's because there's a lot to say, but it's also because I'll try to write down all the text messages I have. I'll try to write down every kind of element of the week, what I did each day from the calendar, and just from every thing that happened social network wise or anything subjectively in the world that I personally experienced, I'll put it down. And I think it's important too, because it's important to look at that value. What does it matter? What's this for? And it's also just a memory box. Make it into a story on its own, without changing it at all. And I think that's what it is. I'm on the 9th one right now, so almost on the 10th. And with reading, well, this is one that I don't know exactly what to say about because I haven't had too much experience with it. I've had enough experience to start understanding what my delay pattern is. And sometimes my delay pattern is longer than actual reading. Sadly, it's not because I don't want to read. It's mostly because I want to read, but I spend so much time doing other things that it's hard to. I just get congested. I don't feel like it's a failure. I feel like I do read. It's just the amount of struggle that comes into what I've seen as pretty much as a plethora of people that just don't recognize a reader. And it's hard to do stuff when there's people closest to you that don't recognize that. So then they don't give you the time of day. But they'll give you the time of day for anything else. If you're on the computer, they'll leave you alone. If you're playing a video game, they'll leave you alone. But if you're reading a book, somehow, some way, they won't leave you alone. So it's a question of really what we look at ideologically as important. And I think in a lot of ways we've kind of necessitized technology compared to holding a book in our hands. But I do like it. I do. And I think it goes back to what I do all the time, which is critical thinking. Here we go. Great example. I don't think I'm critical about it, but I do think I critically think. I just analyze. And in a lot of ways, people would say, like, you could critically analyze to a point, you could critically think to a point where you got the thing completely wrong. Okay, and I think that's one of the issues that I have seen, is that people use it to sort of say, hey, you got that wrong, Marcello. Especially with critical thinking. Like, a lot of people would try to, say, hey, this is how you're supposed to think of something. And there's your problem. Once you tell people how to think about something, you got a problem. It means that you don't like that people think in a certain way. And I think that's why I do like Pink Cloud Radio. If any of you have ever heard of it, Pink Cloud Radio, you can go to YouTube, look for Fight Club Mag 9, or just under my name, Marcello Arturo Giagnoli, or go to my Facebook page, Pink Cloud Radio, and, if you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. Pretty much it's ideas and thoughts and everything that just comes together. And in a lot of ways, it's just a mashup of everybody else's material that's just put in a different way. And if you've heard a lot of material from, other radio hosts, not necessarily on the AM or FM, more on the radio, online, or, or it could be on the radio as well, but it matters what they're talking about, because I talk about everything in the world. Everything in the world and everything not in the world. And I think that's what comes down to Pink Cloud Radio. It's ideas that pop out of anywhere, like pink clouds. Pink cloud just is something that's resistant. No force needs to be taken, because the force is what the other people do. What I do is the complete opposite. The Nephalbada just walks. And that goes to critical care and critical love. The great example that I have is, to me, critical care is important. Critical care, for example, is like this. Okay, let's say you have a good friendship developed between two people. Wonderful. There you go. And it just stays strong. It doesn't build up. It doesn't, it's that clasping thing that is consistently charming, as you would call it. Or as anybody would call it. Whatever they want to call something that is truly indistinguishable. Critical care. I have that with Jax. Thank you. Thank you, Jax. And critical love. One of my favorites, too, is because critical love is the element of then all of a sudden, wait a minute, they separated, but builds up. And that's what I've seen with, like, critical care and critical love, is that that's what I am with that. And I think I want to bring this up, like, some people have said, like, there's a neediness in me. And I must say, it's pathetic to hear that. Because there are so many desperate people that have been hurt abusively, with rape, with anything. I'm talking about men or women, They show desperateness, and it's okay. But Marcello showing desperateness, Marcello showing neediness, oh, that's not good. That's not a good thing for people to show. But it's okay for people to show that are in hurt positions. We all are in hurt positions. So in fact, I'm not lessening the value of one or the other. In fact, that's the main issue that I do see. People would tangle it up and say, hey, you're saying that one isn't worse than yours. No, what I'm saying is that we're all human. Whether we're raped or not, whether we're in a position of greater fear or greater monstrous acts, we all are human. And at the end of it, whether I show neediness or not, that critical care and critical love is always there. So if you're afraid, if you have fear of it, then you have to move along. And you should move along, because first off, you shouldn't be around somebody that sends you that. If you're approachable to somebody, then approach. If you're not, then you know. On my hand, I'm just scared, but I'll get to that later too. And I think that's what really is what gets me to the point of conspiracy theories, which is that conspiracy plus action equals the events. It equals what does happen, what has happened over history. And I think a great example is the Brazen Bull story, where the king was given a great gift of torture. Yes, the torture devices, I know. But the important part is where this came from. This came from somebody who respected him, well-mannered person in the society. He was the first one put in it. There's your problem. If somebody who respects the king so much, respects the person in charge so much, is the first one killed in something that was given as a gift, what idealistic values can we hold on to then? That's why me personally, I don't hold on to hope, fear, doubts, whatever. I don't even use them. They're pretty useless to a person who's very secure. I can see the value if you're gonna treat me like shit. There's no value in me to you. And I think that's an important thing to look at when you're looking at conspiracy theories, is that revenge and bullying, these kind of things, are very, very precise elements of what can create this. We could say it's ego and pride, and I think those are important parts too, but what makes ego and pride even worse is when you try to just say, you know what, I was mistreated, I'm going to mistreat people. And it's the identity of, if you were in the position of somebody higher, you wouldn't care about the people below you, but you were there. You're going to tell me you don't care? Then there's really no point to be speaking of where you were. And I think in a lot of ways people should, if they don't truly respect and understand where they came from. That's where I think the value of where I hear people say you got to care about yourself and the money goes away. Because no wonder people are in that state of, oh, I don't see anybody who cares about me. Well, it's because you didn't start. You didn't start caring about you, and you didn't start caring about the people around you. So what do you think is going to happen to the next people, and the next people, and the next people, and the next people? No genuineness. None is ever going to start. And I think, like I said, I believe people go for bullying and revenge because of that. It makes it easy. It wouldn't be easy for me. I couldn't even stand a sword. And I know it's a hard thing to mention, because do you understand that? Well, it means that I couldn't even stand looking at a weapon. Let's handle this mano a mano. And I truly mean mano a mano. If you're not going to handle mano a mano, then it's kind of pointless. That's not a fight. That's a massacre. As with a Native American genocide. Just like Marlon Brando, for example. Marlon Brando spoke up for the natives, for example. And if you look at the second biggest terrorist event in our history was not the school shootings recently. It was actually 1873 at Wounded Knee. 300 people put their weapons down, were all killed. Women, children, men, didn't matter. All killed. 300 people. So you're going to tell me that we're people that can fix everything. We started with blood. We're Indian with blood. Where can this lead to something good? But as a human, I'm not rationally speaking of this land only. Every land is in the same upskirt feel that I have spiritually of the world. Ain't good. And Marlon Brando spoke of that too. That we look at things in a certain distaste and dishonor. But what if we were given that insight to say those kind of things about that people, to say this about that people? Instead of finding it for ourselves, we just listen to everybody else. In the congregation of our lives, that's what we seem to do a lot of times. When we don't find it for ourselves. And, you know, it's hard to speak for ourselves. But it's not impossible. It's just very hard. It's a hard path. Because there's nobody acknowledging you except you. And that's why I redo conversations a lot of times. I have a conversation with somebody. All of you have had conversations with me anywhere. Any little conversation. I will redo it when I get home. And I'll do your part. And your part will be, let's say Jax, for example. You know, since she's a great one. Redo the conversation right when I get home. Bam. And there we go. Have fun with it. And it comes out of those kind of things, too. It comes out of just even a recognizable conversation with someone at a little party, for example. Recently going to Lizette's birthday. I talked to a few people there. Close to me, you know, that were close to me. And I actually did talk. But it kind of goes to the point of recognizing what conversation you can have. And then you just do it over again because there's so much more. You create new ideas through that, even. And that's why I redo conversations and record them a lot of times. The paranormal group, Southern California Paranormal Detectives. There's my logo right there. Anyway, one of our logos. There's another one too, but hold on. Kind of like the empath, the psychic medium, as I mentioned already. And with that, I think it's important to notice and acknowledge it, because it's kind of hard to not look at it. Kind of hard to not kind of feel what is around me. It's really difficult because there's hardly much to recognize outside of that realm. I think in a lot of ways, I sometimes need to meditate a little more to get it across, to understand things better, and to have the energies around me of the people that matter in the group, the people that are in the group, the people that spend the time understanding that, yeah, I can't take in everything. And I think in a lot of ways it helps me sink in better when I have good group, good mentality, and when we don't have to fuss about what our minds are chattering about when we're there. We're just there, and we're there to help. And I think that's the most important thing, is that nonprofit group, really, we don't really see it as a selfish act. Like, we're getting something out of it that will definitely re-encumber and come back to us. We want to prove something and help people. That's why we take it scientifically and, with the humane state of, because it has to come through us. We're the ones investigating it, so we have to be a part of it too. If we weren't a part of it, we might as well just leave a camera somewhere and see if something's caught. So it's a humane act to do it. And, you just respect it and treat everything humanely, because those are the things that will count, especially in the paranormal, spiritual field, because that could be anything. That could be the exact same thing you are, And I watch parts of shows and movies, repeat A to B if you have a DVD player that's like that. Most of them have it, I think. DVD or Blu-ray or whatever player. They have an A to B feature where you can repeat a cycle of certain scenes. That's what I do all the time. I constantly memorize it, and I'm jumping up and down. For example, I better not do it all here. And I throw my fist back and forth like this. Like when I'm really excited about something. And it's just beautiful to get that feeling, that arousal. It's just there. And I think it's potent to the kind of person I am. Because I'm not a person who recycles old shit. It's the best way to say it. But I think it's that I just want to not gratify myself, but have some kind of edge, to have some kind of instability. To just go off the edge, because if somebody strays me along, for example, I just go off the edge. You can't do that to me, Sorry. And I think that's a part of that. Just that throwing fists back and forth. That's what it is. It's just a part of that. And you can't analyze it, psychoanalyze it. You could try to. But everybody's capable of what other humans do in this world. Every human in this world. Doesn't matter what race, religion, part of the earth you're from. Everybody's capable of these things. So that means that literally, disposing the idea of psychology in itself, not really what I was looking at, but when you're basically saying that it's the adherence of how you grew up, it's important, but at a certain point, there's trigger effects. There's not always how you grew up. Something can trigger anything. And I think listening to music, for example, I'll refer to my list, music I listen to without thinking about. This is the list. And I'm going to mention all of them in chronological order of their appearance in my life, or when at that point it was most important to listen to. The Beatles, Michael Jackson, Cupcakes, Elliott Smith, Unwritten Law, Newfound Glory, Finch, Yellowcard, Trust Company, Silverstein, Thrice, Coheed and Cambria, Black Flag, Henry Rollins or the Rollins Band, Nirvana, Phantomas, Tomahawk, John Frusciante, Say Anything, The Mars Volta, Mr. Bungle, John Cotta, ISIS, Naked City, Vincent and Mr. Green, Mike Patton, Curl Up and Die, Dalek, Swollen Members, Secret Chiefs 3, Pure Reason Revolution, Frankenstein Drag Queens from Planet 13, Stolen Babies, Charming Hostess, Spectre, Crispin Hellion Glover, Brother Ali, Current 93, Bobby Beausoleil, I'm a Gene Heap, Ordo Rosarius Equilibrio, Lupe Fiasco, Heidi Vincent, Insane Clown Posse, Sinan, Castro Band, or Castro, Spectroscope, Spiritual Front, MC Pierre, Full of Keys, Lovely Little Girls, Indigo Mars, Minarest, Jared Mees and the Grown Children, Cerelia, Book of Knots, Juno Reactor, Low Key, Linkin Park, Lady Gaga, Conspirituality. That's really all of them. But there's others, of course. I mean, I always go back and refer to the ones I've always listened to. Like, there's a ton that I listen to. That's the thing. So there's nothing that I stop at. These are just the ones that I've grown into this cycle of. And it's beautiful, in fact, because it creates the image of what I truly want in my... that I don't really have anything to go back to, in a lot of ways. Meaning that this stuff has created a center of the kind of person I am. And it's hard to not value it, because it's a lot more powerful in its place. Especially all of them. They're all different, and they're all important in the place they're in. I jump around, and I sing too, so like I'm listening to music. It's one thing I definitely do a lot of. I grew up Catholic, and I also have close to Native ties with some family members as well, through Danielle and my brother's wife now. But I think the most important part of what I found out, especially about religion, I'm not talking about the sex of what exists. But in a lot of ways, do unto others as others do unto you. I don't think I'm really emphatically religious, or the opposite, atheist either. Wouldn't want to be. I can see the denial of objective thought when you do that, because you can really hurt other people because of it. It's been done through every religion, through every race, through every culture, because of the religious path that we supposedly spring to. In a lot of ways, there's a helplessness in life, but that's only created through the means of what other support is there. If you didn't have that support, you would find another way on your own. And I think that's what really does scale back the human touch at ground level, is that most people want to speculate what else could be there. But the unknown isn't something you should really speculate on if it's conditioning you to have some kind of fear and attachment to survive in life. When people say like survival of the fittest, going back to Darwin, well, it's only survival of the fittest if survival of the fittest means that you survive because of your own health. But if it's about destroying other people and destroying other humans and destroying other animals and things like that, if there's ferocious beasts around, let's take for example, humans are beast in itself, are animals in itself. So that means that as we're a species as such, we're connecting to the same atmosphere that the rest of the nature is, the rest of animals are. So in fact, when I hear about torturous human beings, I think, well, that proves we're animals. Because that element of us somehow has been suppressed so much that we see it as unbelievable that somebody could do that. I highly doubt a caveman thought that. Doesn't seem unbelievable to them. And I think that's what really creates the idea of being barbaric. If we went back to a lot of old things like bartering and trading our services with each other, it's very barbaric, so to speak. But that's because we can't really encompass what we valued when we have a value now, when we could see the value now. But do we see a value in ourselves here? That's what really is the difference. If we don't, then there's something wrong with here. And I think that's why I don't really look at religion in that way, because you do unto others as others do unto you, well, then you got a great plot point for revenge here, and retaliation, and using religion as a scapegoat to interfere in everybody's affairs, to interfere in the way people live, to interfere in what they can and cannot do. You can't practice that. You can't practice that. You can't practice that. I don't really think religion is as important as looking at the value at the bottom of the feet of humans. at the foot on the ground of humans. If you don't care about that, then religion is pretty useless. And that's how I see it. Because you have to see that value of a human. If you don't, religion hasn't really helped us grow in any way. Because you would grow with that humanity. You would not say, I'm going to sever the connection to the feelings, emotions, sensitivities, which are probably the most important things that I grew up with and even grow more with. And I think that's what I mean by imagination and reality smashed together. That's what happens with imagination and reality. Of course, you smash it together because you see the value in what can really become of it. I don't really need to get into an engagement of it, but it's important to look at. The value of those things come up consistently. Imagination, what we make. Reality, what we see. You smash it together, you question everything. Because you see the value of questioning everything. What it can create for you and what already is created in it. That's why I got the AAA. ADD, ADHD, Asperger's, whatever you want to call these things, which Asperger's has been called by the guy who started it as being fake, being a made-up thing so people, but in itself, we've valued the effect of scientific research so much to the point that we've forgotten what a human is. Humans are capable of so much, but they're not really. Because if they have to hold on to things that are around them, like scientific research and things like that, then the value of a human goes away. I'm not even talking about religiously. Although most people would say prophetically, that is such a, religious concept. No, it isn't. If it was a religious concept, the Salem witch trials wouldn't have happened. It's not a religious concept at all. It's a human concept. But if you don't want to see the human, then you're going to use religion and politics and things like that to reinforce your values. Not everybody else is being represented. I work at McDonald's, Tap Daddy, Ace Ventura, the Wata, or Zik-Ia Power Rangers kind of thing. That's what I do at work. Just joke around, have fun. But I definitely enjoy it there. I don't really see it as something where I can just be free and do whatever the fuck, whatever I want. I see it more important than that. Because it's somewhere where I feel mixed in. And that may not be the best thing to be, because in a lot of ways that's the problem. If we just feel mixed in, then are we really represented for? That's how I feel in this world. I feel mixed in with a lot of people that truly don't want to hear me. Or value it, But I've never said that you have to think like I do. Just listen, Don't shut me down. Let me say everything I need to say, and then we'll see where it goes. And I think that's what really is like a part of me at work. There you go. It's a great part of me at work, I think. And you got computer and video games that are, and systems too, that I'm close to, just as much as shows on DVD at random, which is something I do a lot. And same thing with movies and books, things like that. These are things I get randomly and purchase and get close to. And I take the time, And I've really been in the middle of nowhere and representing myself. I represent myself. If somebody told me what party do you vote for? Marcello. That's it. And if we all literally did that, then we would see the reinforcement of our value. Because we have to vote for ourselves to represent ourselves. No one else can do that. And I think that's what I mean by a lot of the stuff that I'm interested in is through this time, I don't really need to bring up everything of what I like, with computer and video games, for example, even though I like to, personally would. And I think in a lot of ways, hold on one second, guys. Just 1 second. I know. It's going to take a second here because I'm going to show you the list. Movies, the Matrix trilogy, for example, Kenneth Anger films, Onmyoji 1 and 2, Apocalypse Now, American Psycho, Fight Club, A Better Place, Tron Legacy, Return to Oz, the Godzilla series. You got the video game series, Myst series, Jagged Alliance series, Jurassic Park Trespasser, Shimu series, Deus Ex series, the Ice Pick Lodge Company, which they did The Void and Pathologic, Tale of Tales, which does very good games, different type of games, and frictional games, which have done Penumbra and Amnesia. And books, you got John Fowles, of course, The Magus being my favorite. Wizard of Oz series, Mist Reader trilogy, The Season of Passage, Mark Hayden, Philip Pullman, G.K. Chesterton, the Sherlock Holmes series, Celeb Carr. So you have a nice little representation of me. Because I haven't been in the middle of nowhere. I'm enjoying it, though. And I represent myself, you know. And truly, if you haven't been scared, you haven't been in love. I've been scared. Been in love. And I think that's where I'm about to end. Because I think I've kind of said everything. Subtle or not. I don't know. I don't know exactly where this is going to go here, but I know that I truly can only do this stuff based on my own feelings. So I thank you all for everything, because I'm going to be 27. Good old 27. I don't know. But take care, all. Love.